Good afternoon. I'm joining you from Waterloo, Ontario on a very warm summer day. Actually, it can pass for a hot summer day. It's hot and humid, but I'm really glad for this opportunity to get to introduce myself, to get to say something that will help you have an idea of who this person is. And then as we eventually journey along together at Luther, then we'll get to know each other better. I'll get a chance to get to know who you are, and you will get a chance to know who I am. So my name is Florence Juma, and I'm originally from Kenya in East Africa. I and my family, a family of 7, came to Canada in 1998 and settled in a small town, Midwest Ontario, called Harriston. We also lived in Palmerston for a while, for 5 years, 4 years in Harriston, and then for 1 year in Palmerston. When I arrived in Canada, I was already a student at a university in South Africa. I was completing my PhD. So I was an international student, but not living in the nation where I was a student. And while I was a student and my family, we were all settling, children going to school, everybody in my family was going to school here in Canada, except I was going to school. My school was in South Africa. I picked up a job. I started working in the factory, Campbell Soup in Listowel. And as soon as I completed my PhD, I also enrolled at Western University in London and completed an M.Ed in policy studies in education. So then my transition into healthcare, we moved to Waterloo in 2004. My family and I, we moved to Waterloo, and I continued working at Campbell Soup in Listowel and going to school in London, Ontario. When that was done in 2006, I asked myself, now that we are staying in Canada a little longer than I had initially anticipated, maybe it's a good idea to find something in addition to what I was doing, because the work at Campbell Soup was to make ends meet, pay fees, settle. But now I was looking for something that will be more in line with what I had trained for. And that's when I came across a program called Clinical Pastoral Education. And this program was given in a hospital, and another local hospital, which was Cambridge Memorial Hospital. And that began my journey at Martin Luther University College. My journey began as a student. I enrolled in Luther in 2009 for a postgraduate diploma program in spirituality in healthcare setting. And lo and behold, 2009 to 2020, I'm still at Luther. So there must be something good about this university. I came in as a student, I stayed on, and now I consider myself a professional student. By the way, my title at Martin Luther University College is Associate Professional Faculty. And that means that I both teach, but I also practice. I work in the hospital as a spiritual care practitioner in a local hospital, and then I teach part-time at Luther. And I started, like I said, as a student, 1 year program, and then I volunteered and did other activities. I sang with Inshaallah. I was just part and parcel of the community life at Luther. There is a singing group of over 100 people drawn from the community and also from Luther. And the group meets and sings at Luther. They sing songs from all over the universe, from different languages, faith practices, different traditions of the world, and they're songs of faith. So Inshaallah practices weekly and performs in the community. And mainly, there are songs that also a prayer for justice, for people who are suffering, for needs in the world, for spiritual growth. And so those songs are for the community, by the community, and Luther is the home that houses this group. So Inshaallah, the name came about from their visit to Palestine. And Inshaallah means God willing. That is in Arabic. Singing is one of my self-care practices. I just love singing, listening to music, and it's also inspirational. It's just a way of doing my meditation, building my spirit, but more importantly is the way I worship. It's the way of worshiping God, worshiping deity, and a spiritual discipline that has sustained me. I started singing in choir when I was just but a teenager. And when I left Kenya and came to Canada, I didn't get a chance to sing in the choir for the longest time. When I went, I started studying at Luther. I learned about Inshaallah, and they sang songs in my national language, in African languages that I was so familiar with. And that was just the best thing, to find out that I could sing songs in my national language or learn other languages in the process of worshiping God. And while I was at Luther and completing my clinical pastoral education and working my way towards transitioning from what I did in the general labor into something more in line with my vocation, I even worked at a group home while during the time when I was training. That's when my interest was piqued at continuing at Luther. So in 2012, that's when I began formally as an associate professional faculty at Luther, teaching a course per semester. And my family has grown since then, has grown, and some have gone. Now I have 8 grandchildren. My 5 children are now grown, young adults and adults living in different parts of the province and 1 out of the country. And with 8 grandchildren, our family settled. We settled in the 2010. Moving forward, we sensed that it was time to settle and do what we can do, become part of the community. And I was blessed and happy to be part of the Luther community. So when you come to Luther in the fall term, this is the course that I'll be teaching. It's titled Family Therapy Overview. And in this course, we look at therapy as a family therapy as an entirely different way of understanding human behavior and relationships. The course is a survey of the development of systems theory, such that in therapy, we do not just see an individual as a standalone client in therapy, but an individual as part of a system. And the system can be 3 generational families or 1 generation family. We are not just working with 1 client in our office, but we are seeing a client as part of a big system. One of the things that students do, and they find it really interesting, is get to know their own family. We have an assignment called Family of Origin, and that's the time that people discover their own families, not only those who are here and now, but even those in the years past, and those who are no longer here, the influence they still have in the family tree, who were the influencers, the movers and shakers in the family. We just love doing that project. The course that I will teach in the winter is called Couple and Family Dynamics. And in this course, it's an introduction to couple and family theory and therapy. And the course seeks to acquaint students with basic principles of developmental and systems theories as they relate to couples and families. Topics that we cover in this course include mate selection and couple development, normative family processes across the lifespan, parenting, communication, conflict resolution, human sexuality, forgiveness, separation, divorce, and related to grief issues. Working with couples and family assessment and the process of couple in family therapy. This is also a neat course in which we look at couple, and in the contemporary world, the understanding of couples and couple relationships has been informed and evolved through cultural knowledge, the differences that information and knowledge has enabled us to tap from multiple cultures, multiple contexts, and multiple worldviews to inform what the couple of today looks like. Talk about something like modern family. You see different shapes and sizes and appearances of couple as we see them. There is a course that alternates every other year, and that one is Introduction to Spiritual Care. This is a course that's taught both in the graduate and undergraduate levels. It examines the dynamics and contribute to the dynamics that contribute to healthy self-understanding for those who are training to either be spiritual care practitioners or to serve as clergy within their faith tradition, to be psychotherapists, either in private practice or in an institution. Special consideration is given to the use of self, professional relationships, spiritual companionship, and the spiritual formation of either the pastor, the therapist, the spiritual care practitioner. Now, my philosophy of teaching is actually the philosophy of learning. I began my teaching career in the kindergarten, teaching young minds, helping and forming young minds. And then it evolved into now young adult world and adult world. And the philosophy behind that is the learning philosophy. I am just a contributor, a partner, create an environment. All the work of learning is done by the learners, the students. So it's my honor and privilege to come alongside students and work alongside students as we together, as partners, as associates in the journey, together we uncover new knowledge and we find ways to integrate that new knowledge into our lives. People come from diverse backgrounds, life situations, work experience. Everybody contributes and brings their experiences and their knowledge to the classroom. And we discover together how the theory and the knowledge contributes or even improves and enhances what we do all the time. So it's a collaborative venture between the instructor, between myself, between the learner. Both of us, we work together as partners. And by the end of the 12 weeks or the 1 term or the 2 terms or the academic year, we both have learned something. I have learned something from you, you have learned something from me, we have learned something from the material. So it's a three-eye partnership. It's a 3-angle partnership. It's the instructor, it's the student, it's the content. And that is our contract. We come together, interact with the content, and together we learn something. I look forward to meeting you in the fall. I look forward to getting to know you and just getting to interact with you, and you getting to know a little bit more about myself and the rest of the community at Martin Luther University College. Now, at this point, I know that my email address will be posted out there, and should anyone have a question, specific question to either the courses I've mentioned, or just a question in general, you can even ask about me. What was it like growing up in Kenya, in Africa, and how different is that from Canada? One thing I'll tell you is different for sure is snow. That is the one big factor that differentiates between growing up in Kenya and living in Canada. So any question, there is no question that does not deserve to be answered. I will leave it at that, and I will trust that the small information I've given will be helpful as you think about courses to register for, your journey at Luther, and who are these people that you see on the website. Now you get to put a voice to one of the faces and the names that you have seen on the website. Have a very gentle afternoon.